What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Game On Improve Your Health podcast. Today's episode journey is being guided by none other than your host, Austin J, or hallucinodream if you know him from the gaming community. And today's topic is on where to start in the gym, weights, reps, sets, and more. Thank you for tuning in and listening, and enjoy this episode. Almost missed that one. Almost, but we got it. Today's episode, anyways. Hello, everybody. Austin J, or hallucinodream here. Almost missed that introduction. I want to first start by saying I missed last week's episode. We missed last week's episode to try to get back on track here. So we're not going to be doing a fifth week fun episode this month, but in 2 months, July, August, there's going to be 5 weeks again. So we're getting back on track. I am aware that these episodes are also being posted later than normal. Usually we try to get them out on Thursdays, but they've been going out on the weekends. Our schedule is pretty busy lately, so very hectic. So I do what I can to get them out as quickly as possible. With that, you may be able to hear that I am using a different microphone once again. I'm also in a different room. We are moving, my family and I, Christina, Alice, me, we're moving, so there's going to be a couple of changes. I'm not too sure on what the setup is going to look like, if I'm going to be able to bring my studio microphone and set it up, or where I'd be able to do that and whatnot. So I apologize in advance if the quality is going to be, the sound quality at least, is going to be a little on the lesser side for the time being until I get something figured out. But with that, after we're all settled in and moved in, I am going to work harder to get One Punch back on track, get the podcasts definitely out on track, try to get some people in here, some guests back on the show, possibly even Christina back, and expand some of the content, which I've been wanting to do, but have been so busy that I have just been unable to prioritize all of that. So just want to let that know, and I appreciate everybody who is returning. I appreciate those who may be just tuning in. But yeah, let's get started on the topic today. The topic is on where to start in the gym, or fitness, workout in general, in regards to the weight you're going to put up, like with your dumbbells, or what kind of resistance bands you may be using, or like cable weights, and how many sets maybe you should be doing, and how many reps. So we're going to be going on that. So I know at the beginning, when I first worked out, I didn't know any of this information. I didn't know where to begin, really. So I did a bunch of research myself, and you find all of this different research, of course, and that's kind of what I'm going to tell you here as well. But a majority of it that you would find scattered is going to be here now. One of the things that you're going to find consistently is like the rep range, we'll say. A lot of people specify a rep range for hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, and then a rep range for like strength endurance, and then endurance in general. And those ranges are going to, depending on which one what your goals are going to be, which one you use. Weights are also going to be individual variances here as well, and the weight is going to be individual because everybody's starting points more than likely going to be different, right? So I remember when I first started, I'm going to use dumbbells for my examples here to try to correlate how I started and where I think you should start into your own personal setting guide here, right? So when I first started in 2017, I'm going to use dumbbells, and I'm going to use lateral dumbbell raise, which is, if you're watching on YouTube, is where you raise your arms to the side here. My arms are cut off on the video, and then a front raise, which is you raise your arms to the front here to work shoulders, delts. So when I first started, I grabbed a 5-pound dumbbell, just 5, because I know my shoulders typically. But when I first started, I knew that I didn't want to start very, very high in the weights because a lot of what I was reading as well, and I've said this on the podcast several times, form is incredibly important. If your form starts breaking down, that's when risk of injury, increases a lot. So we want to avoid that. So I grabbed 5 pounds and I started there. And what I did was I wanted muscle. My goal was muscle gain, hypertrophy. So I set myself that I was not going to do more than 5 reps, and I did 3 sets. That was my goal. 5 reps of each exercise, 3 sets of that exercise, and then I would move to the next. And I started with 5. So I went to the gym, started with 5. I did my 5 sets on a lateral raise, see how it felt. If I felt like I was getting fatigued, I would just hold it there, right? And I would do the rest of my workout with just 5. If I felt like, and there was a couple workouts that I did this as well, but if I felt like it was just way too easy to do on 5, I would bump up to the next one, which at that particular gym was a 7.5 pound. So I'd bump up to the next one and then do that. And then I would more than likely stay there. That's what I did. I stayed at the 7.5 for the last 2 sets. Now, I could have bumped up to a 10 pound, which is another step up from that day, but again, don't want form to break down, especially when you're just starting, you're getting used to the exercise, you want to keep it light anyways. So basically, starting at the lowest weight that is borderline easy for you is where you're going to want to start. I'm sorry if there's an echo, I can hear an echo bouncing off the wall behind me. So I'm sorry if, I don't know where that came from. It sounds worse just now. But generally, you're going to want to start with a very, very low weight because you want to get your body used to the exercise. You want to build some muscle memory there, and you want to maintain good form. The more fatigue you get, the less your form is going to be basically accurate, right? So, less of a chance of proper form. So you want to start low. Now, there are going to be some people who can definitely start more than that. We'll use a bicep curl as an example. I started with 15s, I think, and just for like a hammer curl, which if it's a hammer curl is basically just holding them vertical and doing a bicep curl as you're standing. And there's going to be people who, I did 15s. That's where I started for 3 sets of 5 reps each. And there's going to be people who can do more than that right off the bat, right? So you're going to have to feel it out for your individual self. If you maybe you haven't been used to working out, or you haven't worked out yet, but you want to, but you've been doing manual labor your whole life, you're probably going to be able to, but you might be able to do more than 15. That's okay. Find a starting point. So another thing is, if I grabbed a weight, let's say I grabbed that 15, and it was just, I was unable to do my 3 sets of 5. The next time I went to the gym, I would lower that. Next time I went to the gym to do that workout, I would lower it to make sure that I was getting 3 sets, 5 reps, proper form, without, getting fatigued. Being able to successfully do those with proper form. Now that's when I would drop it, the weight a little bit, right? But it's just going to be feeling it out at the beginning, and it's going to be a little bit of trial and error. I don't really, off the top of my head, I'm not even sure I've ever seen anything where you can just test all of your starting points. I'm not sure I've seen that, so it is going to be kind of a little bit of trial and error, and that is specific to the weight starting point. A reference point for, typically speaking, a reference point for, bumping up in the weight when you are successfully doing your sets and reps without fatigue and proper form is a 5% increase on weight. And you want to do this because you don't want your form to break down, okay? You're adding more weight. Your body's not going to be used to it. Your body's going to need to adapt to that. You don't want your form to break down. So a 5% increase, or because the numbers might not add up with a 5% increase, bump it up to the next weight. So if it was a 25 pound weight, go to a 30 or a 27.5 if it's there. I know the gym I'm going to right now has those 2.5 intervals up until about 50 pounds, I think it is. It's pretty wild. But I would even go to the 2.5, even if it's one day in between. So or 1 week. So I did mine at 15 pounds, my bicep curls. I did those, it was good. I'm bumping up the next time, I do 17.5 pounds. And if I was still good with that, if that was still good, it felt good, and I felt like my form didn't break down, and I was able to do it without getting fatigued, then the next time I would bump to 20, right? And then I would probably hold 20 there, because at that point I'm probably going to get fatigued. 5 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. But the rule of thumb is typically 5% increase, or for ease of bumping up, just the next weight up. So there's that, and then there's I have a feeling this is probably going to be one of the most boring episodes. I apologize, but I feel like this is some kind of important information, because this might actually be some information that may hold somebody back from going to the gym and working out. So in regards to the reps and sets, now I said a 3-5, or 3 sets, 5 reps. That's for hypertrophy. Now you can do 5 to 8 reps for hypertrophy. I use 3 sets out of habit. A lot of the programs that I looked early on really had 3. Now you can do 4 and 5 if you want, but you're getting into strength endurance and then endurance at that point, especially if you are doing higher number of reps. But I did 3-5. You can do 8 reps. 5 to 8 would be muscle gain. 8 to 12 would be more strength endurance, and then 12 to 20 would be endurance in general. So there's some of the rep ranges, and then sets. Like I said, you really 3 is a good amount of reps. 3 is a good amount of sets to start with. And then you can build up from there depending on your goals. So it's going to vary from person to person depending on what your goals are. Especially if you, when I first started, I wanted to gain muscle, right? And then throughout, my goals changed because I started Spartan racing. So now I didn't just need muscle, I needed strength endurance. So my rep range changed, and my workouts changed, and my volume changed, right? The amount of sets and reps I was doing, the weights I would alter, and you don't have to do these sets and reps and the same weight every single time, and I would suggest that periodically you switch that up, to basically what the term is, to shock your muscles, right? Let's say you go to the gym for the first month and you do the same workouts, which you more than likely at the beginning want to do, so you get used to those workouts. You don't want to do continuous. You don't want to do 5 or 10 different bicep workouts, because now you're trying to train your body proper form for that many different exercises, and there is another increase of risk of injury, right? So you kind of want to master a couple of exercises per muscle group, so that you get proper form and you can build a weight base off of that. just lost my train of thought. Somebody help me! Somebody help me! Who's there? I don't even remember what I was talking about. But yeah. Sets, reps, weights, something, this and that. Oh yeah, shocking your muscles. Yeah. At some point you might want to. So let's say you did the first month, and then it's week 5. Now you're gonna shock your muscles. So you go in and you want to do some biceps again. Instead of doing 3 sets of 5 reps, you're going to just do 2 sets, and you're going to do 12 reps, and you're going to lower the weight just a little bit, right? So like 1 or 2 different weight groups down, maybe 10%, however you want to slice that, just so you can get your muscles doing something different, right? Something they might not be expecting. And that is good to promote muscle growth as well. Or you can do it the opposite, where you can do 3 sets, and maybe you just want to really do like heavier weight, and just do a very slow couple of reps, just to really hold tension throughout the whole exercise. I'm trying to keep the terms minimal as of right now for beginners who might not understand some of the bigger terms we'll get into later, but through the whole range of motion. And that's good too, because the longer you hold the weight, the tension, the more your muscles are going to be worked, which is another good way to shock and wake up your muscles. So that's another thing that can be added. But I would say for beginners, we could start with what everything that I just talked about, and you just gonna have to. It's gonna be trial and error for maybe a week or 2, so that you can try to find out exactly where, what weight you need to be at for all these exercises and everything. And it sounds like it's going to be a lot more work than it is, but it really, I don't think it's going to be. Especially when you pick up one of the lower weights, you're going to really. And one thing that helped me, I'm going to cut myself off right there. One thing that helped me, I probably should have started with this, was I used an app. It was a bodybuilding app. I think it's still around, but I used that to track all of my workouts and the weights and the sets and the reps that I did. That way, the following week, I could go back, look at the exercise that I'm going to do again, and cross-reference. And then if it shows on there that I did, because I generally didn't remember right off the top of my head if I was fatigued or not, but if it says I completed all of them, I'd try to bump up the weight, right? Because if I completed all of them, maybe I didn't get fatigued, and I would know when I pick up that next weight and I can't get through the second set fully, which is fine. You can always drop. That's not a big deal. You can drop the weight for the 3rd set. So use an app or a notebook. I see a lot of people using a notebook. That's also very good, because that's a very quick reference. You don't have to pull your phone out for that. That's probably even faster. So use something to help you out. Use your resources. Use phone and app. There's lots of apps that will help you do that. The notes on your phone, you can do that, or just a notebook in general, with a pen, old-fashioned. So I'm not going to drag this episode out too much longer. I apologize in advance for the sound quality. I apologize for the video quality. Apparently, if you're watching on YouTube, I don't know what my camera's doing, and I apologize for how boring this episode may have been. For the past 2 weeks, I've been running on very little sleep. So we need some guests on the show. If anybody has any guests, please. I have a dozen topics we can talk about. I'm free. I'm very willing to talk about some topics in regards to health and wellness that maybe some other people have. If you have a topic you'd like me to touch on or talk about as well, by all means, submit it. If you're listening on YouTube, you can submit it in the comments. If you're listening on the podcast platform, you can submit it in the comments there. You can reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you would like to hear, and we will try our best to get that information out as quickly as possible. If you have any questions on anything you heard, by all means, same thing. Reach out to us, ask these questions. We'll put them in our next week's question and answer. And with that, I'm going to end the episode. I appreciate everybody tuning in and listening. hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, if you like what you heard, and follow us on social media. And I hope to see everybody in next week's episode. Thank you.